The movie Challengers was an interesting film experience. I initially wasn't too excited to see the film because, like many films, I think too much is given away in the trailer. Watching the trailer makes you feel like you've seen the whole movie. You see the love triangle, the juxtaposition of the tennis match being the deciding factor in winning Tashi's affection. You even see Tashi's injury that ends her tennis career. So walking into the theater, I felt the film didn't have a whole lot to offer me. I already knew the plot. If it was a good ending, Art was going to win. If it was a bad ending, Patrick was probably going to win. And I didn't really care that much about who did because none of the characters were that admirable anyway. But early on in the film, I had a realization. The filmmakers show you most of the plot early on anyway. The love triangle, the tennis match, and even Tashi's injury. I then realized the star of the show wasn't the plot. From a very early point, you know it all. The rest is just details being filled in. The real star of the show, and the thing that I paid attention to, is the subtext of the film. The subtext is where the real statements of this film come from. A simple example of this that really changed how I viewed the story was learning of the small tidbits about what Patrick had been up to since high school. We first see that he's down on his luck because he can't afford a hotel for the competition. We see that he's interested in both men and women from his Tinder swipes and uses romantic relationships to survive. From seeing this information, we assume Patrick has had it really rough compared to Art and Tashi because they're successful elites now. But then later in the film, this assumption is wiped away when Tashi reveals that Patrick's family is incredibly wealthy and he just needs to give up and join the family business, and he'll be rich like they are. This completely changes this perspective of the film, taking Patrick's character from a Rocky-esque character trying to make it something of himself and doing the hard things to make it work to being a rich kid who's just playing poor and who's enjoying this love triangle dance they're doing, even when he is punished for it. I like the statement this film is making about the bourgeoisie because they don't feel the pressure of actually having to make it. They are given the luxury to have this passion about things that don't really matter or are even necessary for survival, like tennis. So even though there aren't really any poor people in the film, there's still being a statement about class being made. Instead of the story being about the competition we realize that it's about the relationships, and mirrors how Tashi says tennis isn't about competition, it's about relationships and having a non-verbal dialogue in the moment. We definitely see this in the homoerotic subtext of Art and Patrick. The story of their teenage sexuality, being willing to make out with each other, to have a threesome with Tashi, the churro eating scene, and even the sauna scene. On a personality level, they're in love with each other, but Art isn't bi the way Patrick is. Tennis is the way they express their relationship with one another. And this brings us to Tashi, who is the focal point of the whole story. The central theme of Tashi's character is the female gaze. She spends most of the movie just watching her two lovers compete over her. And in a lot of ways, you could say the film is one long female fantasy. Two men competing for her affection. The film is a great illustration that the female gaze is very unique from the male gaze. I would say the iconic moments of the film are from a uniquely female perspective. Tashi gets gratification from seeing and manipulating Art and Patrick's relationship, which she understands better than they do. While there are plenty of visual gratifications for the female gaze in the film, Tashi's manipulating, toying with, and facilitating Art and Patrick's relationship is a female fantasy in and of itself, with tennis being used as a tool to express it all. Tashi gets to see that purest form of tennis between the two men with the intense relationship and communication. She gets to have that emotion she used to have when she was a competitive tennis player. Suffice to say, Challengers is a very unique film that takes something mundane as tennis and inserts stakes and emotions into it that I didn't think would be possible about tennis. And that's what makes it a very unique film and very much worth watching. Thanks for listening to my analysis on Challengers. If you liked the video, it would be great if you wouldn't mind liking it and subscribing to the channel. Considering supporting me on Patreon, it goes a long way to helping me make more of these videos. Thank you.